It's all covered in today's China Truths.
China's economy, a deepening crisis. Beyond the official claims. While Beijing boasts about a 5% GDP growth for 2024, the reality of China's economic landscape paints a far bleaker picture, with no indicators to substantiate the official claims. As the country faces an economic downturn more severe than expected, experts warn that China is not just experiencing a slowdown, it is heading towards a full-blown recession. In January 2024, the Chinese Communist Party set a GDP growth target of 5%, yet economists quickly labeled this figure as fictitious, underscoring a growing disconnect between government statistics and the actual economic performance. Professor Fan Jiazhong of National Taiwan University emphasized that recent data reveals China's economy is in worse shape than last year, with the 5% growth figure completely unsupported by reality. One glaring example of this economic disconnect is China's Consumer Price Index, CPI, which has barely moved, up by just 0.2% year-on-year. The Industrial Producer Price Index, PPI, has fallen by 2.2%, signaling a broader deflationary trend. According to Goldman Sachs' Shan Hui, China's CPI is expected to reach 0% for the entire year, signaling ongoing deflation, a troubling sign for an economy that is supposedly growing. Fan Jiazhong warned that the same indicator which showed China was trapped in deflation last year is still flashing red. Data from the first 3 or 4 months of this year reveal that the deflationary pressure hasn't eased at all. Another warning sign, he said, is the government's fiscal revenue, which is expected to drop sharply in 2024. If an economy is truly growing at 5%, consumption should rise, investment should rise, and tax revenues should rise, across the board. But that's not what's happening in China. Even official data tells a troubling story. According to the Chinese Communist Party, China's national urban unemployment rate was 5.2% in March, but youth unemployment soared to 16.5%. Many respondents said the job market remains weak. During the May Day holiday, not only was there no hiring surge, but many job openings were abruptly cancelled. On the ongoing job market slump, Fan Jiazhong pointed out that the latest official data from March and April shows no sign of recovery. And let's not forget, he added, these numbers are still sugar-coated. Nomura Securities issued a grim forecast. As the tariff shock ripples through the economy, up to 5.7 million people could lose their jobs in the short term and 15.8 million in the long term. Fan Jiazhong believes no one, not even the CCP, knows China's true economic growth rate. All the data is fake. Every department fakes it. Every region fakes it. The CCP itself has no idea what's really going on. How bad is China's economy? Experts say the reality may be worse than what the outside world expects. How bad is China's economy? According to senior political and economic commentator Wu Jialong, the reality may be far worse than what most outsiders imagine. The Chinese economy has already slipped into recession, he said, and it's no mild slowdown. While many assumed a 2% contraction, it now appears to be much deeper, potentially spiraling toward a 1930s-style Great Depression. Signs of collapse surfaced as early as last December. Swiss journalist Matthias Kamp from Neue Zürcher Zeitung visited Guangdong, the former engine of China's economy, and discovered a grim scene. Massive factory layoffs and rising worker protests. Beijing, instead of offering solutions, did what it always does under pressure: tightened repression and ramped up surveillance. According to Freedom House, the number of strikes in China jumped 27% from July to September 2024, with some turning violent. Layoffs, unpaid wages, and salary cuts were at the heart of nearly all the unrest. Meanwhile, local government debt is exploding. IMF data shows that by 2022, local governments owed 92 trillion yuan, or 76% of GDP. Voice of America later reported that the true figure may exceed 100 trillion yuan due to reckless borrowing in the name of GDP growth. Wu Jialong warns that the crisis is snowballing. Unemployment is soaring. The real estate collapse is deepening. Fiscal black holes are growing wider. State-owned enterprise debt is piling up and may already surpass 115 trillion yuan. And the final blow? Exports, the only real engine left, have sputtered out. The U.S. has slapped on steep tariffs, and countries from Southeast Asia to Africa are following suit. China has now lost access to its biggest market. The immediate crisis, Wu said, is that export momentum has vanished, and domestic demand can't pick up the slack. The Chinese economy is headed for a cliff, and what comes next will be impossible to hide. The downturn will soon be visible to all. Experts reveal 3 ways the CCP covers up China's economic collapse. The Chinese Communist Party has recently been exposed for wiping out hundreds of key economic data points that researchers and investors once relied on. According to a May 5 report by the Wall Street Journal, data that used to be publicly accessible has mysteriously vanished. It's not just cremation numbers or the Business Confidence Index. Beijing has even scrubbed reports on something as basic as soy sauce production, a staple of everyday life. Wang Guochen, assistant researcher at Taiwan's Chinese Economic Research Institute, told the Epoch Times that the WSJ may actually be behind the curve. Since March this year, the CCP has hidden even more indicators, one being private fixed asset investment, and the other, the People's Bank of China's structural monetary policy data. According to Wang, the CCP's data cover-up now falls into 3 main tactics. 1. Disappearing the data, completely halting the release of key statistics, as the Wall Street Journal described. 2. Changing the definitions. For instance, the definition of M1 money supply was revised this January, magically flipping months of negative growth into positive figures. The youth unemployment rate definition was also quietly altered. 3. Direct data fraud, simply fabricating numbers. Internet personality, Xiao Kui, on her YouTube channel, Xiao Kui Current Affairs and Finance, exposed blatant falsification in China's official consumption data. She pointed out that even in Beijing and Shanghai, the nation's wealthiest cities, first-quarter consumption actually declined. If China's top-tier cities are cutting back, it's impossible for smaller cities and rural areas to be booming. Yet somehow, the National Bureau of Statistics claimed that nationwide consumption rose by 4.6%. How? Xiao Kui said it plainly: they secretly lowered last year's base, manufacturing fake growth out of thin air. Experts point out that this is not merely a censorship issue, but a reflection of collapsing confidence in governance, a sign that the regime is becoming increasingly opaque. In recent years, data on land transfers, foreign investment, and unemployment have disappeared from public view. Cremation statistics are no longer released, and even reports on soy sauce production have been removed. On May 5, the Wall Street Journal reported that the CCP has halted the publication of hundreds of economic data points once used by researchers and investors. No explanation was given. The disappearance of data comes as the CCP faces mounting crises, massive local government debt, a crumbling housing market, and a faltering economy, all of which have led to tighter propaganda controls. Sun Guoxiang, a full-time professor in the Department of International Affairs and Business at Nanhua University in Taiwan, said, "The disappearance of data reflects China's fear of the truth. These hidden figures focus precisely on areas where the economy is deteriorating the most. China's decision to hide them means the data no longer align with the official narrative. Releasing them would weaken the regime's legitimacy and erode public trust. In my view, this is a form of self-deception that treats the symptoms, not the cause. The suppressed data often pertain to issues that are politically sensitive or particularly troubling for the regime. For example, China's low fertility rate, which has become a significant economic burden." Sun Guoxiang added, "The disappearance of China's economic data is not just about censorship. It is an external symptom of collapsing governance confidence. When the CCP fears reality and closes itself off to external scrutiny, the economy not only stalls, it risks sliding into a long-term black box."
Old home prices in 100 cities have fallen for 36 months, sparking panic sales in second-tier cities. China's real estate market is in the grip of a historic crisis. Home prices in 100 cities have fallen for 36 consecutive months, with April 2025 seeing an average year-on-year drop of 7.23% in the second-hand housing market. This isn't just a correction, it's a mass exodus. Once considered a safe haven for wealth, property in China is now being sold off at record speed as homeowners race to exit a collapsing market. While first-tier cities like Beijing and Shanghai have seen moderate declines, second-tier cities are at the heart of the sell-off storm. In Nanjing, just one day after local restrictions were lifted, listings for second-hand homes surged by an astonishing 332.5%. In Wuxi, more than 7,000 homes were posted for sale in only 3 days. Such numbers are unprecedented and point to a widespread panic among property owners eager to offload their assets. Desperation is growing, and sellers are increasingly willing to accept heavy losses just to close a deal. In April, not a single city recorded a price increase for second-hand homes. The strategy now is simple: slash prices in exchange for any form of liquidity. Some owners are cutting 10% to 15% off the asking price simply to attract interest. In cities like Huai'an, prices dropped nearly 2% in a single month, while over 60 other cities saw declines between 0.3% and 1.5%. In places like Guangzhou, once prized neighborhoods such as Tianhe, Zhujiang Newtown, and the former milk factory development have returned to price levels not seen since 2017 or 2018. One unit that was once listed at 4.5 million yuan was eventually sold for just over 3 million after multiple price cuts. For homeowners who borrowed heavily during the boom years, the consequences are dire. Many now face the nightmare of negative equity, losing their homes while still drowning in debt. Adding to the chaos is the sharp decline in transaction volume. Even with falling prices, buyers remain on the sidelines, expecting further drops. Shanghai's second-hand housing transactions fell from 29,000 units in March to just 22,000 in April. Hangzhou saw similar declines, from 12,000 to 9,000. The market is paralyzed. Sellers are anxious, buyers are cautious, and deals are stalling across the board. Some analysts trace the roots of the current collapse to the ongoing trade war with the United States. Professor Huang Jikong warns that the country is now burdened with millions of unfinished and abandoned housing units, which will take years to absorb. Political commentator Chen Pokong goes further, linking the crisis to the mass closure of factories, plummeting export orders, and rising unemployment, all of which have decimated household confidence and buying power. What was once the backbone of China's economic miracle has become a dead weight dragging the country down. Real estate used to be the cornerstone of middle-class wealth, a trusted store of value. But now, as prices crash and liquidity evaporates, families are forced to sell at a loss just to stay afloat. China's property market has entered a long winter, Chen says, and under the shadow of economic slowdown and trade war, that winter may only grow colder. The CCP's large-scale data concealment reveals the harsh reality of China's struggling economy. In recent years, a wide range of official Chinese statistics has quietly disappeared, from land sales and foreign investment inflows to unemployment rates, cremation figures, and even soy sauce production data. Experts believe this blackout is the CCP's way of concealing mounting economic distress. Since 2023, hundreds of economic and social data sets have been scrubbed, including youth unemployment rates and urban joblessness. When asked, authorities simply responded, "The data has stopped being provided." With traditional data sources vanishing, scholars have turned to creative methods to measure China's true economic health. Satellite nightlight maps, cement sales, Baidu Maps mobility data, and reports about gyms and beauty salons abruptly closing have become unofficial indicators. One economist even tracks how many business owners flee with customers' prepaid memberships. He claims it's more revealing than official GDP figures. Skepticism toward CCP statistics isn't new. In 2007, Li Keqiang admitted to the U.S. ambassador that GDP figures were for reference only, favoring electricity usage and freight volume instead. In 2023, after Peking University economist Zhang Dandan estimated youth unemployment could be as high as 46.5%, the government halted the release of that data. Months later, after adjusting the statistical method, the CCP resumed publication, reporting a far lower rate of 14.9%. China's real estate crash has dragged down local governments and fueled data suppression. The 2021 Data Outbound Control Law now hides even basic facts like company records and land sales. Some economists cross into Shenzhen weekly to gather data by hand. As vital statistics vanish, from COVID deaths to school toilet sizes, many see the CCP's secrecy as a sign of fear, not control. Experts warn that this opacity may delay panic but accelerates the regime's collapse.
Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We will keep reporting on the COVID surge in China, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to get the latest videos. And thank you for tuning in.